guys, welcome back to the Bucket Think Tank. So today we're going to do the Disney Underrated Challenge because, we're falling a bit behind on other projects. Just waiting for some stuff to come in the mail, some better visual aids, and it turns out I can't find my copy of Cinderella. Live action, make no mistake, that animated one, I've got that. I've got that. But I always like to give these sort of movies like one more watch over if I can, especially if there's commentary. I love to hear what they're thinking about, and I'm waiting for some stuff like from some Harry Potter stuff, hint, hint, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. And yeah, so I figured while we're waiting for that, let's just not do let's just not sit on our butt doing nothing. Let's take one of these challenges. So this is 10 questions. And the first question is favorite underrated Disney movie. So I don't think this is hard. I did a video on this movie. It's the DuckTales Treasure of the Lost Land movie. I felt that I just love that movie. I'm a DuckTales fan. All right. So I was gonna watch it. I loved it. It's not perfect. The biggest criticism I have of that movie is that it doesn't feel like anything that you wouldn't have seen in the TV series. Just the animation is better for the most part. This is something that a Goofy movie does better because it is a story that you would get in a Goof Troop. Max is older. The conversation between him and Goofy is more personal. Also, what most people care about in that movie, Tevin Campbell. It's like the last time anyone saw Tevin Campbell. That when he was at the Goofy movie anniversary where he sang "Stand Out" and "Eye to Eye." So, yeah, that movie was the last time anyone saw Tevin Campbell. Most underrated Disney movie. Oh, ooh, this is tough because an underrated Disney movie. What would that be? What would that really be? Uh, because I think that changes from like decade to decade at this point. That's something like a lot of movies do. Like it's time to look back and realize that The Dark Knight Rises was actually a really good film. It's underrated, and a few years later we'll do the same thing for Dawn of Justice. Although Dawn of Justice was already a good movie, so yeah. But most underrated Disney movie, The Rescuers. I think that's the best answer. The Rescuers is the Great Mouse Detective. I think most people say is underrated. But if you talk to people once they hear about it, like, oh, I love that movie, they love it. But The Rescuers just sort of gets swept under the rug. I think in a lot of ways, and I think I know why. The animation is it's good for the time, but soon after that we get the Renaissance, and again the Great Mouse Detective looks better. There's not much music to it. The Rescue is just a really sad and emotional movie. I mean, it's dark. It's Lady Tremaine dark. I think Madame Medusa is sort of a holdover from the Lady Tremaine school of Disney villainy, where your villainy comes not from your aesthetic or how big and bombastic you are. It's just how you treat someone, and how she treats Penny is similar to how Cinderella is treated by Lady Tremaine, at least in my mind. Most underrated character. Oof. What character Disney doesn't get enough love? Whew. I know. I know exactly who. Bernard. Bernard from The Rescuers, because we just talked about it. Why not? I mean, I think Bernard doesn't get enough love. I think more people like Bianca a bit more, which I think is unfair. Bianca's a fun character. But what makes Bernard a really cool character, and I'm not gonna lie, before DuckTales came back, I would have said Scrooge McDuck. I totally would have said Scrooge McDuck. But what I like about Bernard is he's just a guy at the end of it all. And that was sort of an interesting thing that they were doing with mice foremost, but not just Disney. But if you look at Secret of Nim, Mrs. Brisby is the same way, and even Fievel. They're just one's just a mom, one's just a kid, and Bernard's just a guy. He comes to work every day, and you sort of feel like there's another story to Bernard, but it feels like he gets up every day, no matter how pathetic his life might seem, and he goes out resolving to give 110%, or maybe just 100, depending on if it's Monday. But that's what I like about him, especially by both movies. I think show his character in a slightly different and slightly unique way. Most underrated Disney animal. Well, I have a hunch I'm going to need to pick up Bernard for something else, so we won't pick him up this time. Um, what animal is underrated? This is tough actually, because I don't want to pick an obvious one. Like I'm not going to pick Figaro from Pinocchio because Figaro also was the name of Minnie's cat for a while, which was weird that Minnie had a cat. Um, oof, oof. Ooh, oh, I thought I had it. It's gone. Lewis from Princess and the Frog. I know, but hear me out. Lewis is an interesting character because he sort of gets pushed aside instantly once with Ray. Like once Ray shows up, it's like okay, Ray's a more fun character. He's able to fit around better. So there's that. That's fun. But Lewis always feels like he's like what he really wants is to play in a jazz band. But the problem is because he's a gator. Yeah, no one wants to be around him, and it's a really stupid, sort of hilarious dream. But it matters to him, and when he finally does get to it, people look past it, or like in this case, don't know he's an actual gator. Like, hey, Lewis, you can really play, and but he can also then talk to humans. It's sort of a weird thing about the movie, but whatever, whatever. Lewis is just a really fun character, and I love him for it. Let's see here. Favorite underrated Disney song? Oof. Hi Ho. Hi Ho, granted, was really popular when it came out, and it was a little bit popular in the 90s when VHSs were being released more. Um, but now I think it just sort of falls down a bit, even though, like, say, the opening song to Frozen, "Beware the Frozen Heart," echoes elements of Hi Ho, as well as the first song in Moana, as well as Lion King 1.5, "Dig a Tunnel." But Hi Ho, I just love Hi Ho because once you work, you love Hi Ho. It's like, okay, time to go. Hi ho, it's home from work we go. Hi ho, hi ho, hi ho, hi ho, hi ho, it's home from work we go. Also, it's pretty easy to remember. Love it. Most underrated Disney soundtrack. Easy. Princess and the Frog. Even though I think every song in that movie is gold. I think it is. Even the ones I don't particularly like. I don't really care about moving down the bayou, but what makes it work, and I think it's really, to me, explains why Princess and the Frog is better than Frozen, is because the music feels like it's more tied to the setting and the culture. You know, because pretty much everything there is some variation of jazz. But in Frozen, it's just sort of here's a pop song. Moana follows the same line as Princess and the Frog because of that. The music isn't just a vehicle; it's an aesthetic. It's part of the story as well, and each song feels unique to that movie. I don't get that feeling with Frozen, except in Frozen Heart. Frozen Heart is the best song in Frozen. Fight me. Um, Favorite underrated live action Disney movie? Okay, so I don't actually have a favorite live action Disney movie. It might be Aladdin, but I honestly haven't seen all the live action ones. It's one of the reasons why I'm doing this video series on live action ones. It's an excuse to watch them. So, uh, oh, gee, I'm gonna put a pin in it, and I'm going to make an educated guess, going by how everything looks, and from what I've loosely heard, my favorite underrated one is going to be The Jungle Book, because it's definitely not The Lion King, it's definitely not Maleficent, and I'm afraid to watch Dumbo. I've got it though. I'm afraid. Most underrated Disney villain. Oof. I think some people would say Hades. And some people would go farther off and think that an underrated villain is a villain that's from a bad movie, or at least is just a bad villain, which would be like Radcliffe from Pocahontas, or Shan Yu from Mulan, or Edgar from the Aristocats. I'm like, no, no. The most underrated Disney villain I would say would be Long John Silver from Treasure Planet. Why? Because, well, that movie gets doesn't really get a lot of flack, but you know it's a movie that a lot of people forget about. I mean, it came out the same month as Chamber of Secrets, so didn't have a shot. But what I liked about Silver was, and I think this is done a bit better in this movie than in the book, if I recall. I haven't read that book in a while. I want to read it. Um, you definitely get the feeling that Silver did not plan to like Jim. Like, this kid is just a means to an end. We're gonna use him, and then we're gonna dump him. But then he sees this kid is in a bad state. You know, he needs someone to look after him, to teach him. It's sort of the same dynamic with Merlin and Arthur. You know, both Merlin and Silver see a lot of potential in this kid, and they have to, like, we need to guide this. We need to point this kid in the right direction. Where with Merlin, it's because, well, he eventually remembered that he's going to be King Arthur, but also he just realized that, you know, he puts his heart and soul into everything he does. That can be something great. And with Silver, it's like the kid's got the makings of greatness in him, but he's at a point now where he's going to end up going down the wrong path, or he might end up like me. I don't want people to be like me, but I love me, though. Whatever. Most underrated Disney princess. Oh, at this point in the Disney princess culture, I think most people would probably say Pocahontas, I would say, or Merida. But no, no, no. The truly underrated Disney princess. And it's not Kida, because Kida's amazing, pretty much. It's Aladdin from the Black Cauldron. The Black Cauldron is a sort of it is. I've said it before. I'll say it again. Disney live action Black Cauldron. It will be your Lord of the Rings if you do it right, and that's the one thing you don't have outside of the DC universe and Spider-Man. This video's gonna get taken down, isn't it? But come on, that's at least 5 books, if I recall. The Book of Three, the Black Cauldron, Cats of Lear. Yeah, 5 books. All right, you could make 4 movies out of those. And those who've read the Prydain Chronicles can probably know why. It has to be 4 out of 5 books. But anyway, it's not that one of the books is bad, it's just that it's not going to work. But what I liked about Eilonwy is you could see her as a progression from a character like Eilonwy to Hermione later on, or Annabeth Chase in the Percy Jackson series. Opinionated, clever, spunky, and with their own little special stories, and a really great rapport with their protagonist, I think is what makes them really great characters. And we should do that. I think she doesn't get enough love for it. Underrated Disney couple. Well, I said I'd have a reason to pick this up. Bernard and I Don't Have a Bianca. I just like the couple. It's not as overly the top and beautifully romantic as Robert and Maid Marian. That relationship is beautifully adorable, and Marian, my darling, I love you more than life itself. And it's not as like really cute as Roger and Anita in 101 Dalmatians, where I think their best scene is just that sort of flirting they do when Roger comes up with the Cruella de Vil hate song. And I love that. But what I like about Bernard and Bianca is there's a certain amount of faith that they have in each other. Like, I think if you didn't know Bianca, you'd probably think she's a bit of a ditz. But, I think Bernard sees there's real fire to her, that, she does care about this. And as we saw in The Rescuers Down Under, when the chips are down, there's no doubt in Bianca's mind that Bernard will find a way to help us. And Jake is like, that's a great bluff. Like, no, I wasn't bluffing. You don't know him like I do. He will never give up. And I love that amount of faith they have in each other. And it's also sort of idea like in the second one, you can really get the idea that she's expecting him to propose, like she's waiting for it. And this is also really cool because in the first movie, there's no real talk about it. Like, even like, oh, they're going to, but the movie doesn't end that way. It just sort of like implies they just might be really great friends. But no, Bernard doesn't. He and Bianca, I think, work. And I think they work just the right way. For them, anyway. Well, with that in mind, we'll bring this video to a close here. If you're new to the Bucket Think Tank, feel free to like, comment, share, subscribe. Check out some other videos, and I will catch you all later. This is the Bucket Think Tank signing off. Thanks for watching, and as always, may your fandom serve you well.